morning, everyone. Good morning, and welcome back. Welcome back to another PorscheCooled Podcast, the podcast where we talk about all things Porsche. My name is Michael Barth, and today we're going to be joined by Steve again, GT Steve on Instagram. He loves it when I tell everyone his Instagram handle. But Steve's going to join us shortly. He's going to be on the line from Zoom again. Well, not from Zoom, through Zoom again. We do this by Zoom. Steve's in Australia. I'm currently in London for the next couple of weeks and then back to Bahrain. It's hard to believe we're actually up to, this is episode 33. I started this podcast way back in December last year. I did a couple of episodes and then I kind of walked away from it for a few months. And then in isolation in Bahrain during quarantine, during the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic when I was in Bahrain, basically, we didn't go into the office and we were stuck in the apartment pretty much every day. So I thought, why not take up the podcast again? Why not start doing it? I purely left it just because of the fact of other commitments and work commitments and just getting the time to actually do this. Those of you who know me, I also have a YouTube channel. I don't post as many videos as I used to, but I do try to post at least. I mean, this podcast will always go up on YouTube. Some of my listeners prefer to hear the podcast on YouTube to instead of playing it through Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts or Spotify or pretty much everywhere where it is in the podcast hosts or the podcast, what do you call them? Podcast publishers, podcast suppliers. I never know what to call them. So my YouTube channel, I do have that as well, and that the podcast does go up there. I also do watch videos on the YouTube channel and occasionally tech videos, but mainly Porsche and watches. If you're interested in both of those, then check out my YouTube channel. It's just simply Michael Barth. If you do a search, it'll come up. So I had another idea for the podcast. I did post it on my Instagram, but we'll talk about that. I'll get Steve on the line. I'll get Zoom set up here now, and we'll get Steve on the line, and we'll have a chat about the new idea for PorscheCooled. I don't know if it's going to work. It's just something I thought of yesterday. So we're going to get that. I'm going to get that started hopefully in the next week or so. But we'll talk about it with Steve. It's better to talk about it with Steve. So let me get him on the line. Like I said, I hope the quality's okay. I think the last podcast that the audio quality was actually much better. I'm tweaking it every time. I'm working out the faults, the problems with using a program like Zoom to do these recordings. For those of you who are interested in into tech side or audio side, I don't actually record it through Zoom anymore. We record it on both sides. Because we're both on Macs, we just record it through GarageBand. It actually provides better audio quality. You can use Audacity if you're not on Mac. Audacity is a lot of podcasters use Audacity. So instead of recording it through Zoom, I record it through Zoom. Zoom allows you to record two separate audio tracks. And I do that purely for a backup. But I record this through through GarageBand on my side, and Steve records it through GarageBand on his side, and then I just sync it up in the final edit. For those of you who are interested, I know someone asked me that question, so I just thought I'd throw that in there. But that's how we do it. Zoom works pretty well. Zoom is actually good too. You're better if you have the video on because it does actually help when you see the person on the other side. Like I said, I don't put these videos up on YouTube because they're not really that interesting when just seeing me and Steve talk, but it does help if you're doing a podcast or you're thinking about doing a podcast and you see the other person talking. If you just do purely audio, sometimes it's a little bit hard to know when to pause and not to pause. So it actually works a lot better. But anyway, just a little bit of an update there for people who've been asking me. So let's get Steve. He should be ready to come online now. Okay, so Zoom is working perfectly today. Steve is here. Hi, Steve.
Morning for you, evening for me.
Morning. It's morning in London. It's 10:30 in the morning. It's 7:30 in the evening with Steve in Sydney.
Yeah, we've done the old switcheroo.
We're recording this at different times now. I'm just looking at my levels and they're really, really flat and I don't understand why. So hopefully this is recording okay. I don't know what's going on. I'm looking at GarageBand and it's like so flat. Normally it should be a bit more bouncy than that, but see what happens. Okay, so welcome back. As I said before, this is the PorscheCooled Podcast. I did the intro before we got Steve online, so Steve doesn't have to hear my boring intros.
Did you
what's
say
been
good
happening,
morning,
Steve? I did.
What's been happening? Not much. Weather's kind of warming up in Sydney. I I got Jack of doing. I'm quite busy work-wise. I got Jack of it, so I went downstairs and washed the car today, and I took you some pictures of my.
Yeah. Tell everyone about your new seat inserts.
Well, I've now got 4 sets of inserts for my bucket seats in my 997.1 GT3. So I had them trimmed. They came from factory in the Perlon, the fire retardant fabric. When I picked up the car used, it had little rips in it, so I had them reupholstered by somebody really good, Exotic Leather, who's also a family friend. So I had it done in black Napa leather with Alcantara seat inserts, and then what was it, about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years?
You jumped on the trend.
I jumped on the trend. So I had basically discovered the 911R that Gary from Classic FX in the UK could source the Pepita houndstoothy fabric that was on the 911R, and I loved the look of those. I saw it in the Porsche Museum when I went on my honeymoon. So took the plunge, bought some fabric, blah, blah, blah. Long story short was that it was right at the end of his kind of being able to source the fabric, and I only had enough to make one set of inserts. I only had one side.
I thought it was 1.5.
Oh, it was 1 and a bit. But regardless, it wasn't a matching set. So got the shits, ordered the more traditional black and white Pepita, like the kind of classic merino wool from Gary, and had a set of those made up. So I was driving around with them in the car. I think it's in your YouTube video from...
Yeah, I showed it in the YouTube video, and I sat in it. It's not a very stiff fabric, that fabric, was it? It's a little bit sort of more, has a bit more give to it, I think, too, that fabric.
Yeah.
Compared to the one you've just going to tell everyone about now, I think the other one, it appears to be stiffer, the original 911R fabric.
It's much different. So to round up the story, basically, I don't know why, I think when you were kind of tooling around looking at all of your interior stuff, I just reached out to Gary and sort of said, hey, can you still, have you managed to source more of that kind of fabric? And he said, funny that you say that, yes. So I bought some more and had the other side done. And this is ages ago, and Clarence at Exotic finally had it all made up. So
they look good.
Yeah.
Steve just sent me, to everyone listening, Steve just sent me an image of it. Hopefully he'll let me post that. I might post it on P997.1 Instagram. Not PorscheCooled, on the P997.1, my other Instagram. But I think it looks good. It looks like it's more, the fabric looks, it's got more, you can see it. It's more rigid. It looks like basically the 911R inserts, right?
It's got a thicker weave to it, and it's not black and white. It's agate grey, like it's sort of more like a warmer two-tone grey type thing. It just looks more modern. It doesn't look sort of really old-fashioned, which I think is a little bit out of keeping with
I think it looks good. I think it looks good, and I think it looks good with your carbone wood shifter knob. I actually think it does work. I think you're wrong about the only thing that I think is clashing a little bit, and I'm not saying this in a bad way. I just looked at the picture and I'm trying to work it out in my head. Is the red stitch? It's the red stitching on the seats, which I'm not
the embroidery
sure Yeah, I'm not sure if it's the wood goes with the insert, but I'm just not sure. There's something that's bothering me, and I don't know what it is. And that's maybe what you're seeing too.
I actually picked him up last week or whatever, but I'd just been so busy I didn't actually stick them in the car. So I washed the car today, and then just they literally kind of Velcro in and out. So I don't know. I'm in two minds. I think I sent Michael a text sort of saying, "What do you think?" Because I think it could be a bit over the top, because basically I've got like bits of red detailing. I had the RS-style door pulls in combination with the wooden shifter, in combination with the Pepita kind of inserts.
I'm looking at the images now, Steve, and honestly, I think it works. It does work.
No, I think it might be a bit Porsche tragic, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, I think the color of the inserts is slightly better. The other ones were more black, weren't they? These are more grey.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's softer. I kind of like how it's softer, the inserts. But anyway, I'll post that picture and everyone else can have a look at it and see what they think. So that's good. At least something good fun.
Yeah. And so I've now got 4 sets of inserts.
You should sell the other ones.
I quite like the I like the Alcantara ones. So
not the Alcantara, the other Pepita ones you've got. I keep them for your next GT3. You might get a GT3 or GT2. You can put them in that.
Yeah.
You have 2. See, just on the off chance.
But Clarence, my mate, who did the upholstery, kind of laughed at me and just sort of said, "I mean, you can just sort of swap them in and out, like kind of changing a pair of shoes or wearing a different coat every day." It's like, yeah, it's pretty much like that.
But I think they look good. I mean, just so people, and just in case other people listening today have missed the previous episode, the guy in the UK is called Classic FX, correct, Steve?
Yeah, Gary. He's unreal.
Yeah, Gary at Classic FX. So even when I've been looking for 912s for sale in my little endless search that I do, my little fun search, I've come across a couple of cars that have actually said that they've been done by Classic FX. So he's kind of well known. He does interiors. If you're in the UK, I reckon you would have to use him.
Yep.
Especially if you got your, if I got a car, if you bought a car into the UK, seriously, if you've got a car from the US, a 912, the first thing I would do would put it into there. Anyway, I'm getting into the conversation coming up because that's part of our conversation today.
Okay.
Steve and I are kind of like, not fudging it, but we're talking about Porsche inspiration or Porsche inspiration. And I guess it's all those places that we go to, and I'm guessing some of you guys go to as well, that inspire us, I guess, before your first purchase, that help you during your ownership, and other things that are just fun to go to get inspired by, to get information from, or just to like talk to other Porsche enthusiasts. So I think that's kind of like a general theme for today. We always like to have a sort of a theme or some kind of thing going through the episode. Correct, Steve?
Yeah. I think there's tons of obvious ones. Like I'm sure everybody that listens to this like reads Renlist or whatever else. But I reckon there's some really interesting kind of places of information and just visual pictures and all of that sort of stuff, content basically.
Yep. So before we get into that, I just want to mention a couple of things, as I always do, just to start. The first thing is, I don't like talking about asking for money and stuff, but we did put PorscheCooled on. We did put PorscheCooled on Patreon. I'm not sure if Patreon is the right thing. The thing is with Podbean, they don't really make it easy to do it. Who hosts the podcast? We're on Patreon, and I haven't told Steve this yet, but we've actually have our first member. Someone actually joined it.
What have you offered in return for this?
And they joined, a free message with Steve. And the person will be listening to this podcast, and I should have been prepared. And this just shows you how unprepared I am today. Tim, I'm not going to mention his last name, but Tim is the first member of PorscheCooled on Patreon. He joined up to the top tier, which was $5 US.
Go, Tim.
So that's great. Thanks for that. I just want to
get wined and dined by Michael.
No, he'll get early access, which I do have to still work out how to do. I haven't worked out how to do that. And we're going to do, when we get a few more members, and I think this is the problem. If we get a few more members, Steve and I'll do like live streams and Q&As and stuff, won't we, Steve?
Bloody hell. Yeah,
okay. All right. But that is purely just to give some funds to help get some new equipment and things like that, just to support the podcast, because small podcasts don't get sponsors, basically. And we are a small podcast. Even though you guys love us, we are a small podcast. Also, on following in from that, we're still getting reviews on Apple Podcasts, and the reviews on Apple Podcasts are really, really helpful because they do actually help us in the search results with Apple and get us in the charts in Apple Podcasts, which we are constantly in the charts. We go in and out like most podcasts. But we had another podcast during the week. Oh, actually yesterday. I can't remember the guy's name, but it was from the UK. He'll know if he's listening. So thank you for that review. And then yesterday I put up a post not on PorscheCooled actually, which probably doesn't make sense to anyone. I put it up on P997.1, my other Instagram. And we had an idea, Steve and I, for a second episode of PorscheCooled. And this will probably go up on Tuesdays. It may not go up every Tuesday, Steve. It may just be every second Tuesday. It might be every Tuesday. We'll see how we go. And basically, simple idea is you guys that listen to the podcast, if you have Porsches and you want to talk about your Porsche story, I guess. I'm not going to say journey. I hate saying Porsche journey, but your Porsche story and talk about your car, that sort of thing. It will be a shorter episode. It'll be around 20, maybe 25 minutes, like the episodes I did in the beginning before Steve came on board. So it'll be a shorter episode, so you don't have to talk for an hour. Don't get scared. I did do a reach out. If anyone wants to send me a DM, you can send me a DM through PorscheCooled Instagram, or you can send me an Instagram P997.1 or even Michael Barth on Instagram. I haven't had anyone reach out to me as yet. So don't be scared if anyone's out there if they want to do it. I have got one person lined up. I'm not going to say who it is, but I have got one person lined up who will do the very first one. We'll keep that a surprise. I don't want to say who it is. We'll keep it as a surprise. All right, Steve, that's it. Also, I paid for my parts from Design LS from Linas, my leather parts that have been going. I think I originally ordered them in May or June, so now it's September. So that's pretty good. Yeah, cool. They look great. I've ordered them. I'm guessing they're being shipped to us. Well, I'm guessing since I paid for them, they've already been shipped. I don't know.
Cool.
You know, I'll have to send another email.
You can spoon them in bed at night once you receive them.
Yeah. Yeah, now I'm worried that when they go to Australia, they're going to be stuck in a box. I'm going to have to get Natasha's brother to take them out of the box because then I'm worried it's going to go moldy or something.
Oh, are they coming to Australia? You're not getting them to the UK?
No, they're not going to the UK because there was a slight mix-up with the fact that I have to pay 20% VAT, and he was quoting me Australia prices because we changed it, and I said I wanted them sent to us to the UK, and then so to save the a few £100, I'm getting them sent to Australia. Even with postage, I still save a couple of hundred. I don't know, $200 Australian or $250.
Yep.
So that's that. What else? And then the seals, which I still need to buy, the stainless steel seals. I will buy those before I leave here in the UK in a couple of weeks. What else did I buy? I bought a copy of the Curves magazine. I think I showed you that last time, did I, Steve? Or I told you about it?
Yeah, I think you sent me a picture, but I'm not familiar with it, so.
Curves magazine is done by, and I'm probably going to pronounce his name wrong, and I think it's Stefan Bonnier. And basically he does this magazine, which is like drives through countries. The first few magazines were only in German. The latter episodes, he's done quite a few now. He's done ones with Thailand and Scotland, and this one's Southern Germany. And Nick, who you guys have heard me mention about before, who owns a Carrera 4S in London, he had a copy, and I had a look at it when I met up with him a couple of weeks back, and I bought it. Inspiration, Steve, for driving, inspiration for getting away from everything else in life and just getting in a car and just driving through countries. That's pretty cool.
Is it purely a mag, or does he do other platforms?
He did a book and I haven't bought it, and it's in my Amazon cart for a long time, and it's a worthwhile book. It's 70th. It's 70. He produced a book for the 70th anniversary. It's quite a thick book. I always worry about buying very thick books because I've got to carry them back to Australia. But he did do a book as well. The photography is quite good, and what I like about the Curves thing is this one is Southern Germany, and it's about how you can just drive across. I don't think they really call it Southern Germany, but you can drive across. So it has all the imagery and the road footage and the drives you should do. But I think it's a good magazine. I think it's one of those things, and I probably should have spoken about this later in the episode because this is what the episode is about. But I think it is inspiration, these sort of books. It doesn't really show a lot of Porsches, but if you go to Curves magazine, the website, it's in English and German. You can see the other ones he's done. The one in Italy I wouldn't mind getting. I noticed that was on sale on Amazon yesterday. But basically, it's a magazine produced in high quality for people who are passionate about driving cars, riding motorcycles, or cycling, and in search of pleasure and adventure on the road. Concept was unique photographs of mountain passes and curves combined with a 5-day road movie storyboard that offers the reader possibility experiencing the journey from the viewpoint of two principal characters before he senses on the journey himself. So that's kind of the concept of it. But I think it's a nice book. Beautiful photographs. Inspiration, really. Inspiration to get out and drive. If I had a 911, I would. So I think it's great inspiration. And I guess people living in the UK, the Scotland one, because, and I know that even the guys on YouTube, they go driving to Scotland, right? A lot of these, like when they're doing reviews and stuff, because those roads in Scotland And Wales, and Wales and Scotland, which are quite beautiful roads. But anyway, Nick got me into that. I think he's planning a trip for next year. That's why he's got the book.
Cool. I'd be interested to know like where the other, I don't know, there's sort of like the stereotypical, old Pacific Highway in Sydney, but be kind of curious to know where the kind of picturesque places to kind of drive in Sydney are, or New South Wales or Australia even.
Yeah, I was reading the book. I actually was looking at it last night, and I was thinking, wow, can you do one of these for Australia? Possibly.
You should be able to, yeah.
I mean, I think it'd be quite beautiful scenery. You could actually do it. I mean, I think with southern Germany, I think it's the distance. It's the distance where you can go from one side to the other or through it is what he's saying. It's quite it's like one journey. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where other countries have so many different roads. I mean, obviously, Italy's a good one. In the Middle East, and I think I may have mentioned this to you before, Steve, like in Oman, in Muscat, outside of Muscat, all the roads in Oman, the government spends fortune on infrastructure on roads, and their roads are amazing. And they have a lot of bicycle races, like cycling races and car events that actually happen in Muscat, outside of Muscat. And I've been to Oman a few times and on those roads. And every time I'm there, I say to Tasha, the one thing I want to do is I want to get a 911 and I want to drive through and spend like, I don't know, a couple of months just driving around Oman because it's beautiful countryside. Yeah, right. It's a very beautiful place. And I think that'd be a great thing to do, to document it and to do it. So that's, I don't know, that's one of the things that I think about every now and again, which I would like to add to the list.
Probably in Australia, I reckon Tasmania. I mean, maybe for your global followers, mates, whatever. Tasmania might be known for Targa Tasmania, maybe. I don't know. Like to some motorsport heads.
Yeah.
But like I've been to Tassie twice. And just had a rental car, and both times it's like, oh man, I wish I kind of had like a 911 or a good car.
So the roads are really good in Tasmania?
Oh yeah, it's great, yeah. New Zealand, actually, if you go to South Island of New Zealand, it's probably just as good, if not better.
Yeah, I have to admit, Tasmania, I was thinking about that the other day. I was thinking, I've never been to Tasmania, which is very weird.
I should go.
But that would be a great group trip, like, absolutely. If you could get time out and go with just a couple of mates, just take a couple of people down to go with a few people with your Porsche and just, take the ferry over, right? You got to take the ferry over the Bass Strait or whatever it is. Yeah,
there's some really nice, Tassie's really good for food as well, the produce there, and there's some really nice restaurants and there's some nice places to stay. So I'd recommend it.
We should do that.
Yeah, cool. Just come home.
We should do that. That would be a great thing to do.
Yeah.
But I've seen that Targa Tasmania, and I've seen there's been a lot of Porsche. I think Autohouse did something with Targa Tasmania, didn't they? I think there's an old video I saw on the
Grant YouTube used to navigate, I think. I think they probably
I think it's an old video.
Support.
That's what I think it is. Grant from Autohouse in a being navigator in some rally car. And I think it was Tasmania. Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. What
Curves
else?
Magazine.
Curves Magazine. You just got the RS book. I've just ordered the RS book. Loving RS book, which is 50 Years of the Porsche RS. That's a great book. We'll get onto that a bit later, though, because I want to talk about that publisher. Yeah, cool. And that's about it. I have been looking at cars again online. I know we're getting to the topics, too. I'm going to eventually get there. But I have been looking at cars online, and I found a couple of things interesting, which was last night on Bring a Trailer in the US. And there was 911 SCs for sale. There were two going for auction at the same time. There was an 81 Targa, and there was a 79 Coupe. And both of them were in good condition. Both of them were quite well looked after. Both could be driven straight away. It was interesting. Both of them didn't sell. Both of them didn't meet the reserve. So it's very weird that things don't sell like that. And it wasn't that expensive. It was like 30. They were only selling. They went up to about $36,000 for an SC, which I think based on Australian prices is actually quite cheap because I've seen SCs close to 100K in Australia, 90, 100K.
They'd be more than 100 in Australia, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Good SC.
And these ones were. Yeah, are they more than 100?
I'd say so. Yeah,
and these ones
you can buy any 911 for less than 100 these days, can you?
Probably not.
Not until
these are pretty good examples.
About 996s, but yeah.
Yeah, true. Even 99. I saw a 996 the other day. The 996 Carrera 2, someone's trying to sell for $70K. Like if they're trying to sell that for $70K for a base Carrera 996, then I can sell mine for at least $120. I don't know. When did they get up to that price? It's like crazy. It's like there's an insane person on car sales trying to sell that GT3 for 275k, right? And he still hasn't reduced it.
Oh, the white one with the grey wheels. Although if you're out there,
and then the silver,
You never know. There might be a story behind. There could be a story that could be honey, I promise I'm trying to sell the car, and see, here's the ad.
But actually, that's a good point.
Maybe they have no real intention of selling.
That's a good point, Steve. You just price it out of the market, and then basically you're never going to have to give up here. Yeah, I can say to Tasha, I'll sell that Carrera and I'll put it up for 150, 160. It'll never sell. But what else? I did find one thing though on car sales in Australia, and I sent it to you. I don't think you mentioned anything. I found that 964 that just came up in Brighton in Victoria. Oak green tan, one of my favorite colors. Tan and tan
is that
sand.
At that Porsche den, is it?
No, private seller in Brighton in Victoria, and he's got that, and you can see in the corner he's done one of those photos where he's an enthusiast because you can just see the color of the blue other 911 that he's got, some other air-cooled 911, but he doesn't give it away. Right. So he's selling his 964. It's 149,000, Steve, for a 964 manual.
Wow. How many K?
180,000 K.
It's not bad.
Apparently, nothing wrong with it. All full services. Like I like his description. It's very clear and very to the point. I love things like that.
What year model?
It's got the wheels that you hate.
The D90s.
1990. I think it's 1990.
Yeah. Okay.
1990 964 oak green. I think it's oak green. I don't know whether that's a proper car. I assumed it was oak green. Tan seats with black and tan dash. The half and half thing they did.
Yep.
But it's a good one. I said to Tasha, I would really like to get that.
Could
I get that? Can't. 149k. Can't do it at the moment. Stuck here. Can't go back to Australia. Anyway, that's yeah. Watches. Don't get onto watches. Anyway, we're talking about inspiration. Searching car sales and searching bring a trailer is part of my inspiration. I love doing that sort of thing, and I know Steve does as well. It's good to know what's out there. So where should we start, Steve? What do you want to start?
I don't know. This is going to be. I reckon this is going to be quite random, right? Because we were just kind of going, look, there's YouTube channels, there's Instagram pages, there's journos, etc. So I just reckon let's ping pong, and I'll just kind of shout out like somebody I follow and why I follow them. Okay, let me start. So one of my.
The thing is, though, can I just add a point first? One point. The thing is, you think this is all really common knowledge, but I know that when I mention things on this podcast, I've mentioned things before, I get messages from people saying, I didn't know about that place, thanks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And sometimes you just think that everyone knows about it and people don't. So I guess in that respect, it does, it helps. It's just sharing information, right?
Yeah. All good. No, I won't say that. I was going to say, I'll try to pick out some of the more obscure ones, but I don't really know if they're obscure or not. So just pretend I didn't say that. Cut that out of the edit, would you?
No.
So I reckon one interesting person, like a journo, is Jethro Bovingdon. I think everybody sort of talks about Chris Harris quite a bit. He's a UK. Jethro Bovingdon sort of wrote. I'd started following when he was a young guy on Evo, which was one of my favorite car mags back then. Reason why I raise him is because he has this little story. I think it's, if you kind of look up his kind of his clips on Drive Tribe, he talks about the 996 that he owns. And I don't really know whether I am a 996 fan or a naysayer or whatever, but I just think his kind of little story about his 996 is quite interesting. He's got a arena red 996 that I think it had 150,000 miles on it. It was a real beater car, but he bought it off somebody who was a bit of a specialist. And Jethro Bovingdon knows how to drive a car. He's a really good proper journo, races at Nürburgring in the 24-hour race and all that sort of stuff. So he's kind of the sort of ilk of Chris Harris. So if you haven't sort of followed him and looked at his little 996 and stuff like that, I kind of found that quite interesting.
Yeah, he's also the host of Top Gear US.
Yeah, one of the new hosts.
He's the new host of Top Gear in the States.
Prior to that,
most
he
people
was
speak
on,
quite.
Prior to that, he was on Motor Trend with Johnny Lieberman, who I quite like as well. Sort of, they're quite entertaining.
I don't know much about Jethro Bollington. I mean, I know who he is, and I have watched, I think, some things on YouTube with him, but I don't really know that much about him. But I have heard him been spoken about a lot now because of the fact that he is. People are raving about him because he's very good on Top Gear in the US.
He's if you just go back and look at his old videos, like back in Evo days and Drive Tribe and all of that sort of stuff. He's just quite articulate. So, like I said, he's a little bit kind of Chris Harris-like. I mean, the other sort of good journo I like to watch is Henry Catchpole, who's now on, what's it called? Carfection. Terrible name for a channel, but he's unreal too. He's a bit of a, I mean, I guess most journos are into Porsches, but I really like the style of the videos that he does and his kind of commentary and all of that.
Yeah, I have to say on YouTube, I mean, Carfection, especially Catchpole when he does Porsche reviews, Porsche tests. I think he's inspirational. It's good to see how he talks about the car and how he feels the car. And he's very similar, I guess, in a lot of ways to Chris Harris. I mean, Chris Harris is a Porsche fan. He doesn't just own Porsches. But, I think those two together are probably my two favorite people to watch on YouTube. I mean, a lot of the other things with Porsches that come up that I watch are just like random people. In fact, I can't even remember half their names. They just, I just do a search and then things come up and some are good and some are bad. But like you said, the ones that stand out for reviews and for like learning more about the car and seeing new releases and seeing them drive it, I think it has to be Carfection and it has to be Chris Harris. And I guess you can't rule out the Top Gear channel because sometimes the Top Gear channel is okay. Top Gear UK channel, I think it is, on YouTube. I think sometimes that is, some of their stuff is still pretty good. So that's good to watch. But if then the other thing is on YouTube, and these aren't really, I struggle with this a little bit pulling it out because I'm not saying these are not like, I guess when it comes to Carfection and it comes to Chris Harris, I guess you could call them kind of favorites. And then Harry Metcalf as well, who used to be the founder of Evo magazine. I guess
Harry's Garage is his YouTube channel.
Yeah, Harry's Garage, which you watch and watch for years, and he's got a great collection. And I like how he doesn't have all new cars; he likes to buy old cars and classic cars. And he's got a Countach and he's got Porsches. He's had Porsches, and he has a good variety. And I think that's what's good about it too. And I think that's why Chris Harris is good to listen to in a lot of ways because I know that his collection of cars is a bit eclectic as well. Like he has different types of things. You know what I mean? If you hear him talk about it. I don't really listen to that other UK channel on YouTube, which has the podcast. That guy that used to be on Fifth Gear, Sniff and Smith or whatever Sniff or Smith or whatever that guy that used to be on. He used to be on Fifth Gear, right? I think in the UK. I mean, I know he's out there and he's doing stuff. I don't really watch him so much.
Are you talking about Tiff Needell?
No. The other one, that podcast that has the yellow. I know
Sniff and Smith. That's Richard Porter, who used to write for Evo, and he was a script writer for
but the other guy,
Top Gear.
Isn't the other guy with him used to be on Fifth Gear?
Don't know.
Skinny guy. I think so. I think he was on Matt Farrer or Spike's podcast. He was a guest. But anyway, I'm getting off the point. But I think those people are great because of their car collection, their car knowledge. I mean, Harry Metcalf. If you don't know much about Harry Metcalf, listen to Chris Harris's podcast, which is Collecting Cars, and there's an episode that Harry's on it, and he tells you the whole history how he started Evo magazine. And if you're not inspired to go out and do something different to your regular day job, then I don't know what's wrong with you after listening to that. Because honestly, it's quite inspiring how he was a farmer. Harry Metcalf is actually a farmer. He owned a farm.
He still is.
Yeah, he still is. And then he financed that magazine from the beginning by using the funds from a loan that was given to him to build a shed on his property or something, and he somehow diverted the funds, and that's how he started Evo magazine. You know what I mean? And
I'm assuming though, like he's quite a successful farmer. I don't think
yeah,
he's...
no, but he's got plenty of money. But he started. Did you read that? He used to just loan out his car to Evo, his Maserati to Evo. You know what I mean? Like, and then he got to know all the people, and then he eventually set up a magazine. It's like one of those dream stories. It's like Ted Gushu, that now that has the job that we like, who does Type 7, who's employed by Porsche, which is Type 7 is owned by Porsche. It's just that kind of dream Porsche job that you one day hope to have.
Yep.
Steve?
A job? Yeah.
Hang on. The other things that I watch, and you probably won't agree with me. The other things I watch, and this is not for Porsche on YouTube. This is just basically for reviews of cars, right? I do watch those guys. Are they in Canada? The Straight Pipes guys.
Yeah, I like them. Yuri and Jacob.
Yeah, I mean, I like some of their stuff. I don't like all of their stuff, but I like how when they do a review of the car and they're quite comprehensive. So I do watch those guys. I also watch that other YouTube channel, the two English guys, the Car Guys TV from the UK. Because he has a reasonable collection, and I think the first video I ever watched with those guys was actually a Ferrari one where they compared the 458 to the 488 Ferrari. And I thought it was quite well done. And of course, he had both cars. He owned both cars. So and I thought that was quite well done. He just got a Pista, actually a Ferrari Pista, which is like the most terrible spec I've ever seen in the interior. I don't understand it.
I was about to say, I think, just a subjective opinion, but what he's done to his Boxster Spider with that brown leather interior is not exactly...
I didn't see that. He's got a Ferrari Pista and he bought it in silver grey colour. You saw it? And that cappuccino interior, everything's cappuccino. It's like, man. Each to your own.
If you find that sort of challenging, go back and look at his other chat, like one of his other videos, because he's got a silver Boxster, like a new Boxster Spider. And he put the gumball stickers and all that sort of stuff. So it's sort of like got a bit of a heritage look, but have a look at what he did to his seats.
Okay. I don't know how come I missed that one, but I've missed it. I'll have a look at it.
Well, you know how I sort of even just labelled myself just then as I'm not sure about this whole Pepita inserts and stuff like that. I won't spoil it for you. Have a look at what he did to the seats to his car.
I'll have a look. All right. What else on YouTube, Steve? Anything else that inspires you?
Yeah. See, like what you just mentioned there, though, like I'd sort of have a bit of a distinction between like proper car journos like, Chris Harris, Jethro, Henry Catchpole versus sort of more like the influencer types, like, Yuri and Jacob and all that sort of stuff. One that I kind of quite like was Cars with Luke. He's a guy based in Switzerland. He's got a really good eye. You can tell he knows how to handle the camera and film and all of that sort of stuff. He bought a GT4, but I think he's selling it. But if you haven't kind of watched his stuff, he does a lot of... he does sort of like a fair bit of kind of Porsche driving and sort of driving around the Swiss Alps, which you don't see much of, like, when you live in Australia kind of thing. But his... he's got a nice sort of style about him, and the way that he films is a lot of I think a lot of the kind of slightly more, for want of better words, amateur YouTube sort of influences. The thing about Cars with Luke is that I think a lot of YouTubers, because it's obvious, like my guess is that it's pretty hard to kind of make money from it, so you got to pour a lot of time into it. But so people sort of tend to film on the cheap a lot more, whereas when you look at the production values of how he kind of films stuff and everything, it's actually really, really slick. He really knows what he's doing when it comes to photography and filming. And just seems like a nice bloke.
I think I've watched it once. I can't really remember it, to be honest. I think I have watched him. Actually, no, I have watched him. I think.
Bald, tall guy, always wearing the cap. And he gets a hold of some quite some nice cars. So admittedly, I tend to kind of try to find people with 997 GT3s.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Fair enough.
Who's got them? I think I wrote it down. Sam Moores, the English photographer. He's got a blue GT3 RS. He's more into podcasts at the moment. I quite enjoyed his videos when he sort of did them, but I think he's kind of gone more to podcasts than.
I'll have to check him out. I haven't seen that either.
Yeah, he had a few. His 997 sort of stuff's kind of pretty cool. There's that other dude, 888MF, who's got two RS 4 liters.
Yeah, he's got the white and the black one.
I'm not a fan.
They're great cars. I don't really watch his channel.
I'm
not going to say why. I just don't. I don't know. There's just something about it for me that just doesn't. It doesn't click. It's not.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. It doesn't come across very genuine. I don't know. It all looks a bit staged, and I don't. I just think it's a bit too staged, and I just don't like it. So I don't really watch him. I mean, they're great cars. He's got two great cars. I don't know if you'd want to have two of them though. To be honest,
I think looks like he kind of drives one more than the other, so he's kind of enjoying one and sort of slightly garage queening the other, I think.
It was interesting when, and you would have heard that one, Andre Berginger, when he was talking to Spike and Zuckerman was on the episode, and Zuckerman used to own two RS4s, 4.0s, a white one and a black one, of course. He owned both, and he sold one. And the one he sold, he said, was the one that he didn't think drove as well as the other model. Like he was asking...
There was a difference in
Pullinger. Yeah, why is it? Did you remember that episode? Why is there a difference? Like he couldn't work out.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was ever resolved, but it was interesting because he said one was actually better than the other. He thought the engine was better than the other.
Yeah.
What else? I don't have much else. I mean, in YouTube things, I like down to earth sort of things, and I like sort of I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of other people I listen to, I think, who are just like very amateurish, like me. I do like. Look, I do watch James at Auto Amateur. I'm going to say because I do watch James because I think seeing him grow is actually kind of interesting. How he's actually grown it with the 996, and obviously the 996 is very popular, and his Project 996 has worked quite well for him. And I think James' style of channel is actually it's what just normal people want to watch. You know what I mean? I think you need to have a thing about YouTube.
I just can't get over the whole knife in the air.
Yeah, I know. I think with YouTube, that's the thing, though. Like it's certain things you want to watch for certain. You want to watch a review, you want it a little bit more polished. I think for me, I like it a bit more polished. Sure, you like to hear people's just general opinions, but that's why Carfection is quite good.
That's
who
what
else?
I mean. That's sort of like a proper murdering channel as opposed to
channels like James and channel like people of my sort of size, low sort of subscriber count. It's just kind of literally, and I don't do reviews anyway, but James kind of does now. I notice James is getting other people's cars and doing reviews, which I think is good. It's a different perspective. I also watch.
Sorry, go. You go.
No, I also watch TGE, and I think you do as well. TGE TV, and only because he does. I find him quite okay. I think he puts too many ads up now, but I think he's quite okay, and he's quite into Porsche, and it's obviously that he's made a conscious effort to buy more Porsches, and I guess that's investment wise, and it's interesting to see people like that because he is a banker, and you see people what they're buying, and they buy things basically so they don't lose money, and the cars he buys, I think, is interesting because he buys things that will hopefully not lose him money. Yeah, like a Pista, you got the Ferrari Pista, you got the Carrera GT, he's got a Carrera 4S, he's got a 912. He just bought a Turbo S in black. Now the Turbo S in black is obviously a lease car, but that's very smart because a Turbo S in black, 911, you will sell that in London in a flash because they're so popular. Like I said, there's a lot of them around on the road, but they're very popular. And I remember a while back, his brother had one, and he said that that spec, black on black, is actually like the spec that sells in Turbo S. It's like the color people want. So, he buys things thinking ahead into the future and thinking, how I can get my money back or how I can not lose money or how it can cost me very little money to own this car for a couple of years. So I think that's good advice, and it's good thing, it's good to know that when you first start looking at Porsches.
He's a smart cookie, and he's just entertaining. I don't think he hides the fact too that he's kind of quite commercial about his channel and like his whole kind of platform and everything. It's like good on him.
Yeah.
I think the thing is, as long as you kind of find him sort of entertaining and you're sort of happy to kind of watch it. Obviously, when he's kind of hooning around in a Carrera GT and all that sort of stuff, for people like us.
I mean, the Carrera GT was really like the pinnacle, though. I mean, the fact that he bought that. I mean, I think he got a pretty good spec too. That black with the tan interior. Did you see the thing that Porsche do now? And he actually had a video about it, or was it on Instagram? I can't remember. I think it was on a video. The Porsche Carrera GT, Porsche now have that program where you can, and Matt Farah spoke about this too. No, actually Spike spoke about it on one of his podcasts. Porsche had this program now where you can actually give your Carrera GT back to them.
Mm-hmm.
So you can actually go to the factory, you can talk to them, or you can do it, I guess, remotely now because of COVID. And you can actually get your car brought up to, respec, like resprayed a different color or resprayed the same color or etc. They'll actually do it for you. They have a special program for the Carrera GT.
It's interesting.
And someone in the UK has a 918 Spider, and I can't remember the guy's name. He's on Instagram. He has a 918 Spider, and he has a Carrera GT. And he actually sent his car to Porsche, and they resprayed it to match the color of his 918 Spider.
Yeah,
so he actually changed the color of his Carrera GT, but it's done by Porsche. It's done by Porsche's in Porsche factory. So it's this new program they brought out.
Which I suppose is purely for the sake of values because, like you can obviously take that to a really good paint shop and blah, 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 blah. You're obviously just protecting your investment by saying that the factory kind of did it. But
yeah, that is done through the factory program, which I think, I think Porsche's very clever like that recently. They're doing a lot of things like that, aren't they? Where they know that other people are doing it. It's like the whole Porsche Classic program, Steve. The Porsche Classic, how certain dealers are Porsche Classic. Because they know other companies were doing it, so they want to make sure they get in on it. You know what I mean? They want to make sure you take it to them instead of taking it to other specialists. So they're thinking about it. Someone at Porsche is definitely thinking about it, how to keep you in their ecosystem.
Yep. Speaking of Porsche, just if you haven't watched, they did a lot of their kind of sort of film content. I find a little bit sort of corporate, but they did a sort of film docuseries following Michael Fassbender becoming like trying to get it to Le Mans, like learning to race a GT3. So he's obviously like a car head to kind of begin with, but they've just sort of documented him doing like a whole bunch of kind of different races around Europe and stuff. It was quite interesting if you're into motorsport.
I saw that in your list and I haven't actually seen that. I'm going to do a search for that because I quite like Fassbender.
I think there's maybe 4 or 5 episodes, and you watch him sort of learning off. I can't remember who the guy that sort of helps him. It's really well done, and not that I know anything about motorsport, but if you're kind of vaguely into it, you're sort of watching the highs and lows of like when he has a kind of a good race or a bad race and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, speaking of that, everyone should watch that, and I'm sure some people have already, the Pikes Peak one with Jeff Swart, is it?
Zwart. Yeah, Zwart's
Jeff
awesome.
Swart going up Pikes Peak this year, 2020, in a 935. 935 was actually given to him by the Ingram family. The Ingram family own the Ingram collection, which people know about. Ingram family are Rhodes Scholars. Porsche Malone on Instagram. There's a son who I follow who's got a really good Instagram. You should look at that. But it was interesting hearing Jeff Swart talk about it, how he said he was, his time was good, but he was also thinking in the back of his mind that this car is one of 70 and it's not his when he was going up the hill at the beginning. So I thought that was quite interesting. He was still going very fast, but I don't know. And he's done Pikes Peak for lots of times, right? Like 17 times or something, he said, or so many times, or a lot of times.
So what's on my list of people that I kind of follow just in general, because he's a photographer, director by kind of craft, and because he sort of did all the work for like advertising agencies back in the day. He's obviously like super successful and used to kind of work on all the kind of car accounts and stuff like that. But then, so not only is he an accomplished sort of photographer, director in the advertising world, he's also a race car driver and, raced professionally, so sort of within the Porsche Motorsport team in North America. So he's sort of living the dream. I think he's connected to Luftgold, isn't he? Is he
He's
one of
the he's part of Luftcult, or however you say it, with Patrick Long. Him and Patrick Long, and Jeff is the guy that curates it all. He's the one that works out how. He's the one that really helps. I mean, they look for the locations together, but he's the one that lays it all out and thinks of these ideas of how to place them. You know what I mean? Yeah. He's the creative side of it for Patrick Long. But he's very good. I mean, you know, the story about when they did it at the studios, you know, looking for the studio, the one they did in Munich, you know, all of that, like the direction of it, even the one in Bicester here in London when they had the one in Bicester. So Jeff Swartz, a part of Luftcult or whatever it is. I never know how to say it. I think it's Luftcult, isn't it? Someone said it was Luftcult. I just call it Luft.
He's cool. He's a really cool old guy. He's had so much experience, but knowledge in Porsche, like his taste. Like he rides around in that. Is it a 356 with a carbon fiber canoe on the
He has a 356. He has his dog, and he puts his really expensive carbon fiber canoe, and he goes up to the mountains, and then he like canoes with his dog and in the 356. So it's kind of living the dream. It really is living the dream. You know what I mean? There's another guy in a go on.
Just because, look, we're obviously just sort of spewing out inspirational people or places or whatever. So I'd sort of started to follow Larry Chen as well, who's like a motorsport photographer that's sort of a bit Zwartish in terms of he's sort of like a car head. I think he shoots for Hoonigan, is it? Autofocus? But I think he's got a 996 Turbo as well.
He's been around for a while. I don't know. I see his name come up all the time. The Larry Chen photo, yeah.
Yeah. Like his photography is pretty amazing. But I think
Alpha
in the latest,
is he photograph for Alpha Spot? He photographs for a lot of people.
Everybody. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I tend to follow him as well. Like he's kind of got some.
This is on Instagram, right? We're talking Instagram now. We're
YouTube as well.
Instagram.
YouTube as well.
YouTube? Oh, I haven't seen him on YouTube. Yep. But that YouTube, I don't have much more for YouTube. I mean, there's lots of things I just search and they come up and I watch individual videos. Kind of said the main ones there. I don't really have anything else. Oh, the detail, I think you had this later I think you were talking about this later in your list, but MONYC, who's a mate of Matt Farah, they used to have a business together a long time ago detailing cars. Yep. If you want to know about detailing and just for interest really, I mean, there's some great detailing videos on his YouTube channel. I know that sounds a bit boring, but it's actually not boring. Sometimes they're not always Porsches, of course, but there was a really particular good one I liked him do where he was doing this Mercedes-Benz that was locked up in a garage for like 30 years and they wanted to sell the Mercedes-Benz. I think it was an SL Pagoda or something. And then he just did a light sort of detail on it. I think it's quite good how he knows all about paint and you get some tips there if you want to be that particular, but I think you had him as well. I forget his first name, but the MO New York City guy.
Larry Casilla.
Larry. That's right, Larry, yeah. So I don't really watch detailing videos on YouTube, but I watch him.
Yeah, I don't really watch that much of it as well.
That's about it for YouTube, isn't it?
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't going in order of platforms or anything. I was kind of skipping around like crazy.
Let's just get to Instagram, though. Let's just come back to Instagram, Steve. Sorry, just come back to Instagram for a second. But Instagram, and I know most people are on Instagram now, and I know a lot of people were hesitant to get onto it in the beginning. I don't know why, but people seem to be quite hesitant, and I guess I was hesitant as well.
I can tell you why.
And I know some people, some people are still not on it. See, I was never really on Facebook. I never had a Facebook page. I have a Facebook page now because I have it for PorscheCooled, so I had to do one for myself. But I never did Facebook. I never really wanted to do it. So Instagram. Oh, and on that point, last night, PorscheCooled hit 10K followers after 1 year. 10,000 followers. It's a big milestone in Instagram influencer history.
Did they send you 10K. A plaque or a trophy or something for that?
No, they unlocked this special thing where you can swipe up and add a link, which they only give you after 10K followers.
Yeah, right. Cool.
Which came through this morning, which I've got it now. So that's good for that, for PorscheCooled.
But you of Instagram being a bot?
Yeah, last week
Didn't you say they accused you?
2 weeks ago or last week ago, they thought I was a bot. They thought I was buying followers and buying likes, so they locked me out of it for a week. And I kept telling them they made a mistake. And it's happened to me once before, actually. And they usually take the block off straight away, but this time they didn't. So I know that doesn't sound like it's that important, but it kind of is when you have an Instagram of that many followers. You actually lose a lot of views and a lot of impressions really, really quickly after a week because I can't post anything. Oh, but then again, I could post stories. This is the stupidity of it. I couldn't post a post. I couldn't comment on a post. I couldn't like anything, but I could post a story. So work that out. I don't understand. But Instagram for me, I think, is the main inspiration, and it's not just cars; it's other things as well. It's design, it's watches, it's architecture, etc. But with Instagram, I think it's just that you can connect with people. You know what I mean? Because you are liking similar things, and there are people, you know, that will reach out to you, Porsche people, so you can connect with people. So I think it is a great it is great for getting inspired. It's a great communication tool. And it's good to meet other Porsche people that you wouldn't normally meet who are located, you know, in other parts of the world. So especially if you want to talk, you know, people will always want to have a chat about their car or send you a picture of their car. PorscheCooled, I get people sending me images of their cars all the time, obviously to post on the Insta. But Instagram for me, I don't want to list all the ones I follow, Steve, because there's just way too many. But there's some that stand out, and I think they stand out only because they're a little bit different. Actually, they're not different because that's quite common, and you're going to disagree. But I'm going to say the first one. I'm going to say that Porsche girl or that Porsche girl. I think her name's Lara. I've spoken to her before. I think she's got a good Instagram because she's got those two air cooleds. Because she's a girl, you know, the air cools are pretty cool. She's got a turbo. And then she's got a 70, I don't know what it is, 911S. I think it's a 70 something, 77 or 76 or something, 911S. So they got two. I think it's her and a partner, or I'm not sure if it's a husband or a partner. I think they both own the car, and I think and I think he's involved in something. There's another Instagram that he's involved with, I think. But I like her. I mentioned Ingram Collection before, which is the people that have the biggest Porsche collection in the US or the world. Porsche Malone. And that's I can't remember his name, but that's the son of and that's Road Scholars. They're also Road Scholars. Porsche Malone is actually Road Scholars. Ingram Collection. So I like that one. I like the image because they've got so many unique and rare cars. He posts them. Do you follow Porsche Malone?
Don't know. I don't think so.
It's the orange circle.
Yeah, I can't remember.
PorscheCooled is a ruby stone circle. He's got the orange circle. Luftercult I also follow, which is a good one. Most people know about that. I also wanted to mention GT3 Point, and GT3 Point I know is probably not a one you would think that I would talk about. He reposts other Porsche images, the same as what PorscheCooled does, the same as what I do. He posts a lot. He posts a lot of posts every day. I like a lot of posts. But I like that Insta because I like the fact that you do miss things, and because he posts so much, like I see things from other Insta accounts that I have come across, and he's reposted it. So I check where the image came from, and then I find these other accounts. So I found some really good other accounts. Like some of them are really small accounts too, but interesting little small Porsche accounts. So I like GT3 Point for that because it's just purely Porsche images. And then if you're into 912s, Passion of 912 is a great one. I would recommend following that if you like the 912 Porsche.
Yep.
Some great images. What have you got, Steve?
I don't necessarily kind of follow like tons of stuff on Insta. Like, and I knew that you would, so that's sort of why I was just sitting there not saying a hell of a lot. So I don't really have that much to add. I don't mind the PTSR RS, the paint to sample guy.
Oh yeah.
I find that
I like that too.
Yeah, vaguely interesting. There's another one which is sort of very, very similar. Is that somebody ripping him off?
Yeah, there's a couple
Porsche
of paint to sample ones.
or something?
Yeah, I don't know which one. There's the original. I don't even know what the handle is, but there's the original guy, and then there's someone that did one who's the same.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that Instagram, the original guy, which is it PTSR is the original?
Yeah, I think so.
PTSR is the original. He's got heaps of followers. I really enjoyed that when the 991.2 GT3 came out.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Because that's when he was posting all the people were giving him images from dealers in the US, and you were seeing these really, you know, not just the color, but also the exclusive manufacturer options that some of these people would do on these cars. And that's the great part about it. You get to see all these options that you wouldn't normally see. And then there's the other side, like Steve said, that does the same sort of concept.
I heard,
but that's I should have mentioned that actually. That's a really good one.
I heard his a little interview with him, like the guy that sort of started it. He's got quite an interesting story and all of that sort of stuff, and now he's kind of doing rare shades, all of that sort of thing. But just how he kind of came about sort of building it up, he was just sort of like an enthusiast with like a very kind of detailed sort of brain in terms of kind of collecting all the data in terms of different sort of, as you sort of said, like option codes and stuff like that. So it just sort of has become this weird font of information, basically.
Well, you can see what colors are available. You know what I mean? I think it was a bit frustrating to people in the UK at the time because people in the UK couldn't get paint to sample. So on the GT3, or the US, on the GT3...
Paint to sample only really became sort of a thing sort of more with 991s. He was talking about it because he sort of said, like, paint to sample existed, for example, with 997s, but it just sort of blew up with... kind of 991s, and all of a sudden everybody was sort of kind of going there. It's just interesting, I suppose.
No, that's a good one. That's a good. It's good to get see all those things in real life and to see the different options you could do. Some things you wouldn't even think you could do.
The only two things I'd kind of call out for Instagram would be going back to sort of proper motoring journo stuff as opposed to amateurs. Is Drive Nation. They do a podcast as well, but they started on Instagram. And the clever thing about their sort of Instagram account, if you don't follow it, is that they're sort of like little stories. Like when you flick through what normally are photographs, they actually kind of write really, really concise little kind of narratives. So it's like a little sort of magazine article in an Instagram post.
Right.
So that's Andrew Frankel, who's an old kind of UK proper kind of car journo, and a younger guy, Dan Prosser. So I actually really quite like what they've sort of done. It's actually quite unique. I'm actually surprised more people haven't followed that format in terms of turning Instagram posts into sort of more like a sort of said, like an editorial type channel. And then this isn't Porsche related, but if you've never listened or come across the Session on Air, I found him through Smoking Tire, Matt Farah, but Christian James Hand.
What's it called?
The Session on Air.
This is on YouTube?
No, this is on Instagram. There's a dude called Christian James Hand, and he's sort of like a muso. I think he's a producer, used to kind of sing blah, 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 but he does this show where he takes all these kind of cool songs and he breaks them down into their original tracks. I know this has got nothing to do with cars, but I just kind of came across it, and if you don't actually have to be into music, like he broke down like Staying Alive by the Bee Gees. Right. And you probably kind of go, I hate that song. But if you go and listen to his show and listen to how he kind of tells you a little bit of a story as how they kind of came about it and the different tracks and what's involved in that actual kind of song, it's amazing. So he now does he does a show on the radio in the US, but I think because of COVID.
But the Instagram only has one post.
The Session on Air. Yeah, well, look up King Trut is his personal account.
The Session on Air has one post, unless he does it on stories.
Yeah, so he does a live show on Instagram now. Like you can basically,
okay.
He'll sit in his apartment and you can tune in and he'll do one of his live shows, which he didn't used to do. It's just because once COVID hit, he started doing it on Insta. Okay. Completely car related, but pretty cool.
No, I'll check it out. I will check it out. The only other Instagrams that I follow, I follow so many, like I said, I'm not listing all of them, but the other ones that stand out, I follow the various Roof ones. I always like looking at that. I do follow Magnus Walker. I know Steve's not a fan. I do follow Magnus Walker. I do watch his live Instagrams that he's been doing, some of them. Sometimes he's got some interesting people on. He's still got the passion. I mean, he's just bought a Jaguar and he's just bought a Rolls Royce, for Christ's sake. You know what I mean? So like, I do kind of appreciate his passion and his inspiration. He doesn't do as many things for Porsche. I don't think Porsche AG or Porsche Factory anymore, right? He doesn't do a lot of their press, but he's still a huge enthusiast, obviously, with his huge collection. The other people are Gunther Works, who are the resto mod sort of people, and Singer.
Yeah, of course.
Gunther Works is doing the full carbon body based on the 993, isn't it? 993,
Yeah,
Gunther Works.
they look mad.
And Singer
I watched all of the videos. They've sort of obviously done a bit of a kind of PR sort of thing, so they're on all the kind of car shows and stuff like that. Their cars look amazing.
Their cars are amazing. People say that I think Matt Farah said in when he was driving the green one, the recent one, he was driving the green Gunther Works, the latest version. I mean, they're very expensive. They're like, you're talking $500,000 US here. They're like Singer prices.
Yeah.
But he did make the point that the Singer is still, nothing beats the Singer inside. Singer is still more unique. Do you know what I mean? It's still more bespoke. The Singer's more bespoke, where the Gunther Works, they still use some parts. So you can see like a generic part, where the Singer is everything's pretty much bespoke what they put in there.
I think it's different though, because a Singer is sort of more retro-ish, whereas a Gunther Works, because it's based on a 993, and it's all kind of carbon. Like they're owned by, they're started by the same people. Is it Vorsteiner, which is a kind of carbon sort of place,
which they don't make sort of known, but they've been around for ages. Vorsteiner.
Yeah. So it's sort of even though they're Porsches and they're kind of remastered or whatever the phrase is, they've kind of got a slightly different take on each other.
Yeah, both kind of resto mod sort of things though.
Yeah.
That's about it for Instagram. There was one I always go to, and he's just a little guy. He's a small Instagram called Turbo Tom 77, and I basically watch that because he always has he goes to the Porsche Club London region, I think it is, and they have an out east thing, and he always posts pictures of all the cars that go to the Porsche Club meet, which is just near where I am here in Canary Wharf. It's pretty close by. 000 magazine, I follow that. And I also look at Duck and Whale, the guy from Duck and Whale, because just for the Australian content and cars that he's like photographing for the magazine and stuff like that. So I do actually follow him as well. They're just
he's gone global, hasn't
he? Yeah. His magazine does pretty well. I mean, a lot of people, on Instagram, you see the comments. People love the magazine, so.
Hard thing to do to kind of publish your own magazine these days, like
very
commercially.
Difficult. Very difficult.
Yeah, super expensive to do, and can't imagine that there'd be that many people, unfortunately, that buy magazines anymore.
Well, the problem with anything, problem with this podcast, problem with everything, when you start making content, it's like a monster, isn't it? They say just got to keep feeding the monster,
Yep.
And it's hard to have fresh content, and magazines must be even harder because you got to do the whole shoot. You know how this works, Steve. This is your expertise. But just getting it all lined up and getting the cars to take the photos for these magazines every month or every quarter or whenever he brings them out. It mustn't be easy. The same as 000. Like I saw the copy of 000 magazine. Yeah, and the 000 magazine that I don't know what Duck and Whale's quality like. I remember seeing one at Autohouse when I was sitting there waiting. And I think he came in at the time, but I remember seeing it, but I can't remember the quality so much. But 000 magazine is really good quality. You know what I mean? And these magazines should be because they're charging you premium price. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I think this Curves magazine that I bought, the one thing I have to say, it only cost £15 or €15. And the quality of the photography and the paper, it's a magazine, but it's about that thick.
Yeah.
Like what's that? 5 centimeters or whatever. But it's an inch, yeah. But it's really good quality for the money. I think that's what's quite stands out with the Curves magazine, the quality of the photographs and the quality of the print for a low price. Yep. 000 is obviously great photographs, great content. And I just looked at it briefly when Nick showed it to me when he had it in his car. But it's expensive. It is very expensive. I don't know where you set the limit on these magazines, but they're collectible and you keep them forever.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how it works.
I mean, I've got, I used to get every sort of Porsche magazine known to man, like Total 911, all of that sort of stuff. I've still got actually threw half of them out. I kind of kept some of them that had 997 GT3s in them, but I used to religiously buy all of that sort of stuff. But it's just funny that those days seem to be kind of slightly gone.
But you subscribe to the Total 911? You still get it electronically?
No, I stopped. I stopped ages ago.
Right. I occasionally get one every now and again.
Yeah.
What else? I think we're getting close to being over an hour here, so we like to keep it around an hour. I think we've gone way past. The other thing, Steve,
you sound a little bit hesitant. Forums, I think, like that they're all pretty obvious. Like pretty sure anybody that's listening to this will kind of probably surf somewhere along the line, Renlist, Piston Heads. 911 UK is quite a good sort of site for information.
Yep. It's a great site, yeah.
Rentech is actually a slightly more obscure one, but I've found it useful occasionally. So they're the sort of forums that I sort of tend to read most days.
I mean, the forums obviously are the first point when if you're thinking about buying a 911 or you've just bought your 911, I guess, apart from talking to friends that own a Porsche or own a 911 or your Porsche specialist, I guess the forums is where you go to, right? I mean, you do the search. The same as YouTube where you do the search to do installation videos. But I mean, I got a lot of information from the forums, about, I can't even remember what it was now. Something I had to fix with my CD player, the CD player in my car, and the CD was jammed and someone told you how to do it, how to release it. And I couldn't find it anywhere on any other site. And then I found it, I think it was on Renlist, and I found how to do it. And I actually could release the CD and then I can use the CD player in the car. Old technology, I know, but I still do use it.
I'm pretty sure these days, if you kind of type in a search, do a Google search for, how to fix the CD player in a Porsche 997, the first listing will be a Renlist listing.
Sometimes I actually put Renlist. I actually put the name of the forum in the search now because sometimes I find it doesn't come up with forum searches, which is really odd. So if I've seen something on Renlist and I vaguely remember it and I can't find it, I just do a Google search and do it because when I do Renlist search, I can never seem to get it, even though I log in and something like that. But the forums are great. Porsche Forums Australia, I know Steve goes to it. Like those guys on that forum, I hope they're not listening because they really annoy me, most of the people on that.
I stalk. I read it more just to sort of see what cars are kind of floating about and a little bit of background stories on the kind of cars on the market. Not even though I'm not sort of looking to buy anything, I'm just kind of curious more about that.
Porsche Forums Australia, PFA, whatever they call themselves. I mean, I don't seem to be a lot of active members. And there are a couple of people on that forum, and I'm going to have to say it. They really their arrogance. Their arrogance is just unbelievable. I'm sorry, it's just unbelievable. You know what I mean, Steve? Like they just the way they talk down to certain people when people come on. I just find them arrogant. I just honestly, I stopped going to it because I just find them. I don't know. And even when they talk about cars for sale and they pick out people's car sale ads, I think they're just. I don't know. I think it's a bit out of line. I know
that sort of stuff
on a podcast, but I find it a bit out of line.
I don't read it enough to kind of know exactly what you're talking about, but I do know what you mean about it's not just limited to them, but when people start kind of commenting on speculating on kind of people trying to sell cars and everything, that can be quite harsh because I think if you're overly negative about somebody trying to sell their car, but you actually have no foundation for what you're sort of saying, you could sort of spoil something for somebody that might be completely unwarranted.
Porsche clubs, Porsche club forums, etc. I'm a member of the Porsche Club Bahrain, even though I don't have a Porsche in Bahrain, and I'm a member of Porsche Club New South Wales. Porsche Club New South Wales is okay. I don't know. They seem to be. Are they getting better?
Don't know, mate. I've been a member ever since I bought one, but to be honest, I'm not. I'm the shittest member in the world in terms of I barely kind of turn up to events or participate in anything.
We were going to talk about things, parts and stuff. I think we're probably covered. I think we'll leave that out today. We'll talk about it again another time. We have done a parts episode before, so people know the sort of brand, the people we're looking at.
We've talked about that many a time, I think. Yeah,
I just want to go back to the Porsche book though. Steve just got Porsche RS book, RS Porsche, whatever it's called. That's a great book. That's from a company. If you do a search, it's called Waft. Well, they sell it actually. I think they're the publisher. Waft Publishing. It's also on Amazon as well. Have a look at Waft Publishing. They have some really good Porsche books on their site. I think it's in Belgium. If you're in the UK, they send free shipping to the UK. But you can also get them on Amazon and other book sites. I saw that book actually in Selfridges yesterday in London when I was in there.
My lovely wife just bought me that book and I had no idea.
Yeah, it's a great book.
Yeah, I started to flick through it and it's quite. I think the little stories in it seem quite interesting and insightful.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many great Porsche books out there. That one that I bought, which I can't think of the name, which has got pink cover, that's a really, really good one. I should have written it down. I didn't write it down. Ages ago I bought it. I've got a few in Bahrain too, the 70th anniversary one, a new 70th anniversary one. I bought a couple and I took them there. But I'm kind of going a little bit crazy. Probably what you did years ago is that I'm buying too many books. I have to stop, actually. I really do have to stop.
I started buying books, and then like some of them are just sort of sitting in the plastic kind of thing. There's a couple that I'd really like to actually go back and read. I think one was the sort of full Hans Metzger story. There's a few kind of cool ones like that. Yeah. Remember, actually, there's also one. Oh, geez, this isn't going to sort of come up very well in a podcast because you really need to have it visually. But what was I going to say? Oh, there's a book out there which I really should have a read of, which is Learning to Drive Your 911 Properly.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Which I actually think probably would be quite handy to kind of read. I don't know if I could sort of sit through that. I'm not a massive kind of reader sort of thing, but it could be quite good.
The great book for the 997 is the one that I bought ages ago, which was a guy I think who used to post on forums on Renlist who did the book
Adrian
about the essential. Yeah, that guy. That's a great book. If you don't have that book, you should buy it, I think. I mean, I know he got criticized and some people said that not everything is correct. I know I did read something on Renlist or some forum where someone said that there was some things that weren't correct. But I think that's a pretty good book. I always look at that book. That's one of the Porsche books I always kind of refer to, that 997 Essential 997.
He started with a 993. When I had mine, he was writing that book. So I think he kind of wrote the essential kind of companion for the 993, and then I think he just sort of wrote all the other ones kind of thing. It was. I think I've got it too. It's quite handy.
That's a good pickup, that one. I think it's good if you need the information, then you can search more if you need it, but I think that's a good information. The other thing too, we're getting off the track, it's not really inspiration, but the other thing too is if you go onto Renlist forums or any of the other forums, usually you can find a link, someone has got a link to the parts manual for your generation of car. Download it, it's great, it's invaluable. You get the parts numbers, you can see where they are, correct, Steve?
Yeah, it's known as the PET catalog.
PET catalog, yeah.
If you just Google search it, you'll find it, and it's pretty handy. Like Michael just sort of said, it's pretty handy to kind of locate parts, but it actually is also really handy to figure out how something is screwed together. If you're trying to dismantle something, you go find the diagram, then you can work out actually how it comes apart.
Well, this is what the Porsche specialists use, right? Autohouse have one, I'm sure. They just refer to it, That's how you got to find your parts, right? But it's a good one, and it's free. You can just download it. So if you haven't downloaded it, just definitely download that. That was one of the first things I downloaded when I first got the car. Anything else, Steve?
Nope, that's it. I think we're well over time.
Yeah, I think that's it for today. We like to keep these podcasts around an hour or so. It's a bit over an hour again. All right. What are you doing now? Going to bed?
Aye.
Having dinner?
No, going to bed. It's well past my bedtime.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you. Have a good week, mate.
I'll see you too, and I'll see you next week when we do another episode of the PorscheCooled Podcast. Live.
Probably by then.
Everywhere.
Probably by then. I'm assuming you'll have yourself a new Submariner.
No, I won't have a Submariner. It's going to take longer than that. It's going to take longer
mate.
than that.
You're better connected than that, mate.
It'll take longer than that. I think I'm going to have to. Well, that's another story. I'm not going to get into that now. Watch my latest video on YouTube if you want to know what I'm talking about. It's a watch video. It's on YouTube. Got lots of views. More views than my Porsche videos. I don't know what's going on. All right. Cool. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for listening. See you, Steve. And we'll talk again soon. Bye for now.